In this Adobe Illustrator tutorial, I'm going to make a DVD label. Let's go to File, New. Now from the new document profile, I'm going to select Print, because that'll give me a CMYK color space to work in. I'm going to change the width and the height to the same as the diameter of a disc, which is 120 millimeters. Let's give it a name. Click OK and save it. Save as. It's already got its name, and I'm going to save it as an Adobe Illustrator file. If you're working on another version at home somewhere that's an older version, you might like to save it as a legacy format so you can actually open it. Otherwise, just leave it at the default setting. Don't worry about any of this stuff. Click OK. This first layer is going to serve as a template, so I'm going to rename it. We don't print right up to the edge, so the template's going to be our guide. I'm going to put a circle in there. Typically, these things get printed to about 118 or 119 millimeter diameter circle. So let's go for 118 millimeters. Click OK. I want to move it into the center. Over here in the transform box, I'm going to use that to actually move this right to the center, which would be 60 mils across and 60 mils down. If you can't find the transform box, just open it up under a window. Okay, we've got a gadget here that's called the reference point. If I click on that circle, the bounding box and the handles pop out. I could actually move this point to the center if I wanted to by selecting the top left hand corner as a reference point. And if I type in 60 and 60, it'd move that point to the center. Obviously I don't want to do that. I want to move the center of the circle to the center of our page. So I'm going to make sure that the center reference point is turned on, and I'm going to select 60 and 60 as our X and Y coordinates and hit enter, and that pops that in the middle of the page. I need to make a circle in the middle because that's the area that's not going to get printed. So let's go back to the ellipse tool and make ourselves another circle. Typically circles of diameter of 36 to 40 millimeters are what is used. I'm going to go for 40. And again, I'm going to move that using the transform tool to the center, which is 60 mils and 60 mils. And there it is there. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put another circle around here that's about 3 mils from the edge, because I don't want any of my print or any of my type to get within about 3 mils of the edge. So again, let's go for another circle. This time I'm going to make it 112 millimeters diameter, because that'll give me a 3 mil border on either side. Click OK. It's going to be handy at this stage not to have this filled with anything, so we'll go over to the fill and stroke gadget, make sure that fill is activated, and select none with this diagonal line here. You can also press the question mark / key. That'll do the same job. Back to the transform window and move that into the center, so 60 mils for that, and there it is there. I might stick another one here that's 3 mils out from the center of my 40 millimeter circle, so let's click again, and this time we need 3 mils that way, 3 mils that way, so we're going to go 46 and 46. Click OK, and 60 mils for our centering, 60 mils, and there it is there. So we've got ourselves a 3 millimeter border there and a 3 millimeter border there. Okay, the layers menu has disappeared, so function 7 on the keyboard will bring that back, and I'm going to padlock that because we don't want to be able to do anything with that. We don't want to put any artwork on it. Notice that a little pencil icon with a slash through it has appeared. That means I can't actually draw on that. I can't do anything. Let's make ourselves a new layer. Layer 2. Now I'm going to put an image as a background here. So I'm going to rename that, and I'm going to call that images. Click OK. Save it. Let's quickly go up here, save. Now we're going to just zip over to Photoshop, and I'm going to open up an image that I've got. Got some pelicans here that came out of my camera. Now, given that the diameter of a disc is around about 5 inches and the printing process that we're going to use happens to require about 200 pixels per inch of resolution. That means that we need to have 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels as the size that we need. We can do that in Photoshop fairly easily, starting off with an image that's a lot bigger than 1000 by 1000. Let's just check this photograph here. Let's go up to image size, and as you can see, it's a lot bigger than 1000 by 1000, so there's plenty of resolution to play around with. You don't have to worry about this at the moment. This is the figure that is of interest to us at the moment. It's got to be bigger than our target size. So anyway, I'll just cancel that. We'll grab the crop tool and we go up here into this dialog box and we specify that we want it to be 120 millimeters by 120 millimeters. So you'll have to type the numbers in if they're different. Make sure you put in mm for millimeters because it may be set to centimeters as its default, which would make it a mighty big disk. Resolution 200 pixels per inch. Don't go for pixels per centimeter. Hardly anybody uses that. So pixels per inch 200, and now when we click and drag out our crop tool, whenever we commit to that by hitting the enter key or the return key or double clicking, it's going to make this from this corner to that corner 120 millimeters and 120 millimeters down, and it's going to do it at 200 pixels per inch. I'm going to make this fairly big because we've got a lot of resolution we can play with. You don't have to hold the option key, but you don't have to hold the shift key to do this because it's going to adhere to those settings that I put in there before. I'm just going to make the center of it somewhere between these pelicans because I know that's where the 40mm hole is going to be. So that probably looks good enough. Let's hit enter. The only thing we've got to do is convert this from RGB color space into CMYK. So let's go image, mode, CMYK color. Just click OK and save as. I'm going to save that as a TIFF. I don't want to save it as a JPEG because that'll lose even more quality second time around, and I might actually put in CMYK there just so I know what it is. I'm going to leave this embed color profile ticked because that's the way that Illustrator and Photoshop are going to communicate about standardizing and color and having consistent color between the two programs. I'm going to leave LZW image compression on to make the file a little bit smaller, and I'm not going to worry about any of this stuff down here. I'm just going to click OK. Let's flick over back into Illustrator. Now we want to place that image in our images layer. So I go File, Place. It's important that I place it and don't open it. Place, find my Pelican CMYK, place that. Now it's stuck it almost in the center. If you really want to be pedantic, again, while it's selected, you can go into transform and type in 60 and 60 and stick it smack bang in the center. Let's padlock that layer, and I'm going to save that. I'm just going to quickly do the keyboard, Command S, and that'll save that. Now we need some text. So let's make ourselves a new layer. I'm going to put some text on a circular path at the top. So I'm going to rename this and call it text. Top, click OK. Now I really need to know what I'm doing here or see what I'm doing, so I'm going to just turn off the visibility of the penguins by clicking the eye so I can see my template. It's probably going to be handy at this stage to actually see the center of these circles. So if I go up to View, Outline, I can see the little X in the middle there. I'm going to grab hold of the ellipse tool, and this time I'm going to stick it right in the center over top of that little X, and I'm going to draw a circle from the center outwards. That means I'm going to have to hold down the Option key to draw from the center outwards. Notice how the cursor turns a different pattern with that sort of circular thing around the cross. That tells me I'm drawing from the center outwards. I have to hold down the Shift key to constrain the proportions and then just pull outwards because I want to put some text. Let's just take a guess for the moment and say stick it there. We can always change the diameter of this circle later on. I'm going to grab the text on a path tool, which is hiding under here. There's all your different options depending on what you want to do. We're going to go for type on a path, and I'm going to just click on that path, and put some text in there. Type on a path at the top. I need to rotate this around and maybe make the font a bit bigger, so let's make that font, it's 12 point at the moment, let's go for, I don't know, 24. Better select it all first. Now you can either click your mouse and run your mouse along like that, or you can triple click, that will do it, or you can either click in it somewhere and just go Command A on your keyboard and that will select it. So there's a few different ways of doing that. Let's make that bigger, 24 point, that sounds okay. I'm just going to click with the selection tool. V is a shortcut in the keyboard for that. I'm just going to click outside anywhere just to deselect that, or I could go Shift Command A. I'm just going to increase the diameter of this circle so that the top of the capital T is pressing up against my 3mm border. So direct selection tool, I want to increase the size from the center outwards, so I'm going to have to hold down the Option key, hold down the Shift key to keep it circular, and then pull one of the handles in the corner just so I get that T just resting around about my 3mm mark, just like that. Then let go of everything. I want to rotate this around a little bit. See, there's a tiny little handle sticking out here. I need to get at that using the direct selection tool, which is A on your keyboard. If I press A, you'll see that light up. Now I'm just going to grab hold of that and I can rotate it around a little bit to make sure it's in the right spot. Got to be careful because sometimes it can flick upside down and go all over the place. So it's a little bit fiddly. Sometimes it's a good idea just to do it a little bit and then go back and tweak it again. So when you're happy with that, just lock that layer. I'm going to put some text down the bottom here as well, sitting up the right way. I'm going to make a new layer to do that. It's a good idea to split these things up on different layers. So new layer, let's give it a descriptive name. Text bottom, and again ellipse tool, draw from the center outwards, hold down the Option key, Shift key, and I'm going to pull the size of this circle right out to the top of the capital T, which just happens to be the template for the 3mm boundary. So around about there somewhere. It's not quite in the center. I can see I didn't quite start in the center, so I'm going to go back to the transform box and make sure I center that to 60 and 60. Now it's in the center. Let's put some more type on a path. Now we're only going to put it on text bottom layer. We've locked everything else, so I'm just going to click there somewhere and we're going to go type on path bottom. Now I need to rotate this text around and flip it up the other way, so I'm going to grab the direct selection arrow, which I'm going to type A on my keyboard to get at that. Whoops, no I can't because I'm still in text mode. Still in text mode, so I can't use keyboard shortcuts there. I've got to have to go and click on it. There's the handle for it, it's popped out over there, so let's drag it around. Nearly had it, it's a bit of a fiddle. I'm going to let go and have another go at it. The handle's now over there. I need to flip the text up the right way, so I'll pull it towards the center. There we go. Okay, and let go. Let's just go into preview mode, so Command Y, or you can do it from here. There it is there. I'm using the keyboard shortcut Command Y, and so far it's not looking too bad. Let's padlock that layer. I reckon text at the top needs to be rotated slightly, so I'm going to unpadlock that. Select its layer. Direct selection tool. I've got to click right on one of the letters to make those handles pop out, and then just pull it around a bit. There we go. Padlock that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the DVD logo in here somewhere. Now I've already made one of those, so I've got a file, open. I've got a choice of two. I've got the black one, and I've also made a white one. And in the preview you can't quite see it, but let's open it up. And the way I saved it in wireframe so you can actually see what's happening. Let's select all of it. I'm just going to get the selection tool, and I can either click on it, or I can draw a marquee around it, or I can go Command A to select the whole thing. I want to make sure that this is all grouped together, so what I'm going to do, just select it again, I'm just going to go up here to Object, Group. That way if I move one piece of it, every other piece is going to go with it. So it's all grouped together. I'm going to copy that, so Edit, Copy, or Command C. That's copied it into memory. I can close this window off. And I'm going to paste it into a new layer here. So let's make a new layer. I'm going to call that let's call that Graphics. Command V to paste. The yellow bounding box is a little bit hard to see against the white, so let's change the color of this layer. Double click on it. Let's change it to something that we can actually see. Let's go for, I don't know, pink. That's better. Obviously we need to shrink this thing down, so I'm going to hold the Shift key, make sure I got the selection arrow selected, which is V on your keyboard. Hold down the Shift key and grab a handle and just shrink it down, and then just drag it into place. I think there's a pelican head here from memory. Let's just quickly check by having a look. Turn that back on again. Yeah, so just be careful you don't have any colours that it's going to get lost in behind. Just click that and turn the pelicans off again. One more thing I'm going to do is put some text that just goes right around here and flips upside down, just for the heck of it. So let's make a new layer for that. I want it to be above the pelicans layer, obviously. So let's just go new layer, and this can be text. Text rotating, that'll do. Again, I need to see the center of this circle, so I'm going to quickly go into outline view by going Command Y. Let's make a new circle. From the center, hold down that Option key, or Alt if you're on a PC. Click the Shift key because we want to do circles, not ellipses. 3 mils from the edge, we've got our template there, so let's go to 3 mils from the edge. It's pretty close to the center, but I might just change it 60 and 60. Type on a path tool. Click anywhere. What do we write? Text on a circle flipped upside down. I just wanted to do that to show you the difference between doing text that is sitting upright and text that is sitting upright at the bottom. That took 2 layers to do that. This kind of text, you can just do it on 1 layer. Doesn't really matter. Now let's have a look at that. Let's turn our pelicans on. Command Y, and we got this kind of thing happening. Now, this background doesn't really suit it, but I just thought I'd show you that to see what the difference is. What I do want to change actually is the color of this text down the bottom. So I'm going to padlock everything except text bottom. Let's unpadlock that. Let's select that text, and we're going to change the color of that. At the moment it's black. Obviously we don't want that. Let's go and just give it a different color. Just got the swatches menu there, so that's a little bit easier to read. Okay, let's just save that, Command S. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn my layers back on, function 7, and see whether I can shrink this text here so it's still within our 40 mil circle, and maybe make it a little bit easier to read and not get lost against the penguins. So text rotating, that's the layer I need to unlock, make sure everything else is locked. I'm going to turn the pelicans off just for a moment. I think what I'm going to do is just use a smaller font size. So triple click, let's go to smaller font size, maybe 14. Turn on my pelicans again. Grab the direct selection tool, And then I can actually move this thing around. Oops. This is where it gets fiddly again. Maybe start some of the text there. And this is where I can use a few spaces, I reckon, and we'll just move this text. Just going to hit the space bar and move it around the other side of that pelican. And I think we'll just change all that to white, so I'm just going to triple click. And again, just up to my swatches and select white as the colour. I'm just going to click the direct selection. Oh, sorry, I'm going to click the selection tool and then click outside to select nothing. So that's looking okay. Back to my layers, function 7 brings that up. Let's lock that text rotating layer. The only other thing we've got to do is put a mask here because we don't want to print in this central area. We don't want to print on these 4 corners. I'm going to use the template layer to do that, and I'm going to duplicate it by dragging it over, make new layer gadget, which will actually, in this case, make a copy. See the hand with the little box and the cross? That tells me I'm making a copy. Template copy. Let's move that to the top. Right up to the top. Just be careful where you put it. You want it to go at the top and not inside the text bottom layer. So let's move that to the top. What we're going to do is we're going to draw a 120mm square, and we're going to use the 118mm outside circle to punch a hole in it using the Pathfinder and minus front. So I'm going to unlock that. Selection tool. I don't actually need these guides here, these 3mm guides, so let's just delete them. Select them and delete them. This one here is our 3mm guide to get rid of that. So we're left with our 40mm circle in the middle and our 118mm circle on the outside. Let's draw ourselves a square, 120mm square. So over here to the ellipse tool and find the rectangle tool. Click anywhere, 120mm, 120mm. Which is the last setting I use. Click OK. We want to move the center of that to the center of our box. So transform tool, just check to make sure we've got center as our reference point and type in 60 and 60. Doesn't have any fill on it at the moment, so we can't see anything. So let's go over here. We don't want any stroke, so we'll just select stroke none, and then fill, bring that to the front, make it active, and we'll fill that with white. So go up here, swatches, fill it with white. Now I need to send that to the back. So selection arrow, I'm going to type V to get that. I'm going to do a right mouse button click and go arrange, send to back. Now it hasn't moved it onto another layer or anything like that, it's just rearranged it to be the back object on that layer. While it's still selected, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select my 118mm circle. I'm going to go to Pathfinder. If you haven't got it open, just go Window, Pathfinder, and it'll bring that to the front. I'm going to use this gadget here, which is minus front. Click on that and it'll punch a circular hole in it, which gives us that. We've got our 40mm hole left in the middle. It does have a black line around it at the moment. Let's get rid of the black line by selecting the hole. Or selecting the circle, go down to the stroke gadget and make that active, and then select none. You can also use the question mark / key on your keyboard. Just click outside the area and that's it, the job is done. So I'm going to save that again as well. That's it.